So your plane's been cancelled. What do you do when that dreaded word pops up on the departure board? Well, the first thing is, don't panic. Stay with us and we'll take you through the steps that you need to know if your plane gets cancelled. It happened to us this week. My son Harry and I were due to fly back to the UK from Schiphol after spending a few days in Amsterdam. We were only carrying hand luggage and had checked in online, so we'd gone through immigration and were waiting for our flight to come in and turn around. So far, so good, and no indication of any problems. But when Harry went to check the departure board, it said the flight had been cancelled. At first, we had no idea why, but when we checked the app, a message had been sent to say that the plane we were due to fly back on had been hit by lightning and was going to be taken out of service for inspection. That's a good thing. I mean, the plane being thoroughly checked rather than our plane being cancelled. That was a pain. But this is not the first time it's happened to us, so we're going to share our experience of what we did and how we managed to get home, so that if this ever happens to you, you know the best steps to take and you also know what rights you've got. Check for information. Firstly, check your airline's app for any updates or their web pages, or contact the travel agent's number. There'll sometimes be a what to do if or a help section on the app or website. See if you can reschedule your flight for later in the day, or consider getting a flight to a different airport just to get back into the country. But what if there are no more flights on that day? There's definitely a risk in booking the latest flight out of an airport, because if there are any delays, some airports have flying restrictions at night. This and staff working hours limits can mean the flight cannot leave until the following day, once flights resume and the cabin crew and pilots are sufficiently rested. The airline does have some obligations to you as a passenger, so they should inform you of your new flight time, provide meals and accommodation if necessary, and get you to your destination. Plane cancellations do happen relatively frequently, and staff at airports are geared up to respond to these issues. However, it can take a little time for them to put their standard operating procedures into place. So please bear with them while this happens. You'll need to quickly get to the place where the airline staff are available to help you. Check to see if there are any reps for the flight company available on the air side of departures. This may not be the case, as the help desks are usually situated on the other side of security, on the land side. Airports are very big places, and you don't want to walk 20 minutes in the wrong direction only to have to walk back again. So if there are no reps around, ask any available airport staff where the desk is located for your airline, or where you should head to for a cancelled flight, and head there as quickly as you can. We asked security at Schiphol, who were very helpful. Remember, this is a routine occurrence in an airport, so most staff should be able to point you in the right direction. You'll need to head for the exit and pass through immigration checks again, and then through customs. On the positive side, it is more stamps in your passport, but it does feel like one step forward and two back. Unless you've been quick, once you arrive there will be a long queue of basically a full plane load of disgruntled and worried passengers. Please reassure them that everything will be all right, because you've watched a very informative video by Travelling Light, and recommend that they subscribe to our channel. Thanks. On their website, EasyJet stipulated that you should not book your own accommodation, or you may not be able to be reimbursed. This may not be entirely correct, but for the sake of simplicity, we decided to follow their guidelines. Remember that the airline have to pre-book all of this accommodation at last minute to ensure that the hotels are expecting guests before they send you to those hotels and give you directions of how to get there. This can take a little while to organise, so just take a moment to appreciate how long it would take you to book 200 hotel rooms yourself. Once you get to the front of the queue, they'll let you know the hotel that has been booked for you. This is usually given to you on a little slip of paper. At this point, you can ask if the flight has been rescheduled or what arrangements are in place for getting a new flight. This will determine if you can have a leisurely stay at the hotel and enjoy a relaxing breakfast before checkout, or if you need to return first thing to be at the inquiries desk once it opens, if you've not been able to book an alternative flight online. On this occasion with EasyJet, they arranged what they called a rescue flight for all of the passengers at 2 p.m. the following day. If you have check-in luggage, don't forget to pick it up before you leave the airport. Sometimes the airport has a transport arrangement with the taxi companies and will give you a voucher, and sometimes you'll have to pay yourself and get reimbursed later. So make sure you get a receipt if you need to claim. In fact, get receipts for any additional reasonable expenses that you incur whilst waiting to return. To get a taxi, you'll need to go back out and usually head towards the arrivals area where the rank will be located. To get over any language difficulties, show the driver the slip with the hotel name on. What are my legal rights while I wait for my flight? Well, the Civil Aviation Authority has full details of your rights and entitlements on their webpage. But in summary, while you wait for your flight under UK law, airlines must provide you with care and assistance if your flight is significantly delayed. And the law splits the set timeframes into 3 categories. A short-haul flight of under 1,500 kilometres, a waiting time of more than 2 hours. A medium-haul flight of 1,500 kilometres to 3,500 kilometres, more than 3 hours. Long-haul flights of over 3,500 kilometres, more than 4 hours. This means they must provide you a reasonable amount of food and drink, often provided in the form of vouchers, a means for you to communicate, often by refunding the cost of your calls, accommodation if you are rerouted the next day, usually in a nearby hotel, and transport to and from the accommodation or your home if you are able to return there. The airline must provide you with these items until it is able to fly you to your destination, no matter how long the delay lasts or what has caused it. Am I entitled to any additional compensation? Under UK law, airlines may have to provide compensation if your flight arrives at its destination more than 3 hours late. But this depends on what caused the delay. If it wasn't the airline's fault, you probably won't receive any compensation. So things like extreme weather, airport or air traffic control employee strikes, or other extraordinary circumstances are not eligible for compensation. So what does count as the airline's fault for a delay? These include that the pilot was sick and not replaced, the crew or pilot was late, the flight was cancelled because of underbooking, the airline staff were on strike, or if there are technical problems such as a component failure or general wear and tear on the plane. But you won't be able to claim compensation from the airline if the delay is outside the airline's hands due to extraordinary circumstances. And these can include bad weather, although not always. Imagine heavy snow at an airport near a ski resort. That's something that's to be expected. I'm guessing in our case, lightning will count as an extraordinary circumstance, and I don't think we'll be entitled to compensation. Industrial action by air traffic controllers, airport staff and ground handlers, political problems, security or safety issues, and air traffic management decisions. For example, airspace is shut due to volcanic ash. How much am I entitled to? Well, the length of your flight determines the amount that you may be entitled to, so it's a good idea to check which category your flight falls into. Some other advice that we would give you, just make sure that you have a credit or bank card that works abroad, or that you have sufficient cash for contingencies. For example, our taxis from Schiphol back to Amsterdam cost €45 each way, and then we also needed food and drink. Secondly, make sure your phone is charged so that you can receive updates from your airline or travel agent. A power bank is also a useful item, as charging points at an airport are at a premium and very often don't work. Schiphol, I'm looking at you, but hopefully your flight won't get cancelled. But if it does, I hope you now feel sufficiently prepared to cope. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments and we'll try to help. Take care. Goodbye.